Hello, it's 18 minutes to 4 and my next guest came into the studio as we started this record. I said to him, "You'll have heard this before." And he said, "Yeah, just once or twice, didn't you?" It's Dave Bartram of Showaddywaddy fame. Good afternoon.
Good afternoon.
Nice.
I'm sorry I'm late, by the way.
Nice to see you. You've gone on a non-guided tour of Central Derby, haven't you?
I've discovered Derby today, yeah.
Yeah, there's a lot to it, yes. And specifically, there's Westfield with lots of car parking quite away from here.
There's lots of people as well in Westfield.
Yeah.
Very, very busy. I didn't realise it was such a pleasant shopping centre, to be honest, but... because I actually did go into a Westfield... I'm sort of place-dropping here, but I did go into a Westfield shopping centre in San Francisco. It's actually the most spectacular shopping centre I've ever been into. But this one sort of compares.
Yeah. Yes. To take away a few of the delights of San Francisco. Actually, I found in that part, I'm digressing severely, but in that part of California, I don't know if you noticed the same. The last time I was there, I had a bit of time to kill, and I went to sit in a shopping mall and just watch the world go by, because I like to watch the people you see. And I sat and watched for a while. Worked out in this particular place there was nobody I would class as normal body shape. They were either hugely fat or absolutely, liposuctioned and sculpted to within an inch of their life.
Sounds a little bit like Skegness.
Well, yeah, very much like Skegness, and which is one of the many places you played, no doubt, in your long and illustrious career.
Many times.
I was saying earlier on, back in the 1970s, maybe Showaddywaddy might have seemed at the outset like a bit of a novelty act, turning out in the teddy boy gear and the long coats and the crepe soles and so on, but nobody could call you a flash-in-the-pan novelty act. 40-year career, 15 albums, more than 50 appearances on Top of the Pops.
Yeah, indeed. The dress, you had to do something different in the 70s. It was about showmanship. It wasn't just about the music. Obviously, we'd had sort of the glitter thing. We'd had Slade. It was very much glam rock. And then we sort of came along after the Rollers in their tartan. And, you had to have an image.
Yeah, you've got to make a splash.
Absolutely. Yeah. And obviously playing rock and roll, the most sort of natural image to ourselves was to dress up as Edwardian boys, Teds.
Good old Edward. Now, Leicester's where it all began, isn't it?
Yeah, indeed. Yeah, just outside of Leicester there was an old pub called the Fossway on the old Fossway Road, and the band that I was in, the four-piece I was in, we used to play a residency there every week, and the other four guys came along and they were kind of fans, and we just decided to give this sort of rock and roll thing a go, because we enjoyed playing rock and roll and it always got such a fantastic response from the crowds. And we put on this 8-man thing, and the way the audiences reacted was just quite unbelievable. And we thought, hang on, we might be onto something here.
Yes.
And we amalgamated.
Yeah. And as an 8-man, that's another thing, another way you'd be making a splash. Not a 4 or 5 piece, but that's a lot of bodies on stage.
It made a great splash until payday.
Ah, the door money doesn't go far between 8, does it?
Exactly.
Yeah. So, was it fairly quick path from the pub sessions and people beginning to talk about you to getting national attention? Once
we amalgamated and took the thing on the road, the extravaganza on the road, really, it was literally an overnight success. We did the Britain's Got Talent of its day called New Faces, which we won. Yeah, and really
that was a great shop window, of course.
It was a hell of a shop window. The viewing figures in those days with just 3 channels.
Yeah, the viewing figures that people could only dream of.
They were astonishing. something like 20 million people watching it. It was quite astonishing.
If you can't make a success after that, you're doomed.
You either become a success or you sink without trace.
Yeah. And you flew, and obviously picked up by a record company pretty quickly as well.
We'd already been signed actually by Bell Records just prior to doing the show, but I'll always remember the Monday morning after doing New Faces, and literally the phones were red hot with every company on the planet trying to sign us. We'd obviously got something a little bit different and something they thought had commercial possibilities.
Without probing too deeply into the contents of your wallet, did you manage to escape the thing that that a lot of people fell foul of in those days, which was being signed up by some avaricious manager who said, "My boy, leave it to me. I'll take 95% of the money and I'll look after you." Did you manage to do all right out of it?
Well, fortunately, a couple of us were blessed with a little bit of business acumen and like to sort of deal hard, and that is subsequently why I went into management, because I enjoyed sort of the thrill of doing the deal and that side of things. But we were always conscientious and pretty well organised. That's not to say that there weren't people dipping into the pot that we sort of found out about sort of after the event, so to speak. But I think, as opposed to the kind of bands that you're referring to, we came out of it pretty well.
Yeah, I was sort of thinking of Gilbert O'Sullivan, for example. I was playing one of his records yesterday, and he's one of the famous examples of somebody who was
a guy called Gordon Mills. Yeah, he was pretty well known for enjoying the nicer things in life.
Yeah, pocket money for the artist and 95% for the manager. Yes, but it didn't happen to you, obviously. So has it been a happy run? I mean, I know you've just recently stepped away from the microphone.
18 months ago now, incredibly.
Time flying. But but for most of that 40 years, it was you out front. Was it a happy run?
Oh, I would say 95% of the time, it was wonderful to ply your trade doing something you love. I think it's everybody's dream, and I've lived that dream, and it's my career was just quite astonishing. I've travelled the world, and we had hits all over the world, TV performances all over the world. We played at a festival. We were the first band to be screened live to Cuba. We played at a festival which went over the TV screens of 350 million people. And I look back at the track record, and I just think, did I really do all that?
Yeah. I must say, as you say that about Cuba, through my head flits an image of Fidel Castro looking very puzzled by it all.
Well, I think he was just tickling his moustache and his long beard, but there was no sort of message in the music, I suppose. And it was that kind of thing, fresh-faced young lads, very colourful and looking good on the TV screens, and he went along with it for the first time.
Mind you, he probably thought you'd been sent as one of those many CIA plots to kill him or something.
He probably thought we'd got something hidden down a trouser or something like that, but, which there were, but we won't talk about that.
What's your leave that. What's your your favourite? Is it those are big international gigs or the English seaside resorts? I know your first was it Margate, your first professional gig?
The very first professional gig, which was actually the 1st of September, 1973, so it's literally...
Really is pretty well bang on the anniversary.
On 40 years, yeah. It was a place called the Dreamland Ballroom in Margate, and I've recorded a lot of these stories now. I've started writing books, and my first book is available as we speak, called The Boys of Summer, which was about holiday parks, but since then I've started writing a second one, which delves into every city in the United Kingdom, which I've been fortunate enough to visit, and all the rock and roll stories that are
fit to print.
Well, some of them probably aren't, but you get away with stuff in books these days.
I'll tell you what, we'll have another quick memory from the Showaddywaddy record book, and then I'll ask you some more about what you're doing now.
Yeah, indeed. Yeah.
Dave Bartram of Showaddywaddy with me in the studio this afternoon. Here's another of their hits.
Now there are 3 steps to heaven. Just listen.
Bob and Eddie Cochran originally, I think, wasn't it? But revisited by Showaddywaddy in the 1970s, 3 Steps to Heaven. And Dave Bartram, the man who was out front with Showaddywaddy for almost 40 years.
Well, 38 and a bit.
Yeah. So we've established that you have recently stepped aside from the lead microphone, but you haven't left it altogether, have you? You've not left the band altogether?
No, I've been wearing my managerial hat for, actually since 1984. So I'm quite experienced on that side of things as well, which is something I still enjoy immensely.
And there's a couple of the original chaps still in the band.
There are Rod and Romeo. Rod used to actually reside in Darby for many moons, and Romeo, they're the sole surviving
That's
originals.
Bass and drums taken care of, isn't it? Between Rod
Exactly.
and Romeo,
Yeah.
So you've got the key rhythm section in
Absolutely,
Charles,
and some very good musicians out front, and they're still rocking, and I go along every now and again, and very strange feeling. I sort of perceived that I would miss it dreadfully when I first saw them in action, and it has strangely the adverse effect on me.
What, you actually just
I really
enjoy sitting there and
I just
watching?
want them. I'm happy for them to get on with it. It's a strange feeling.
That's really good, though, isn't it? Because it must mean that you've been there, done that.
That's right. Yeah, I've
you're
moved
okay.
on.
Yeah. So, what are you doing with your life now?
Well, as I mentioned, writing. I'm doing a lot of writing. I'm actually writing for a couple of expat newspapers outside in Spain and Portugal, and I'm writing books. My first book, which I mentioned, The Boys of Summer, is available now. The paperback comes out in a couple of weeks, and then there'll be a second one hot on the heels, probably early into 2014. And I'm enjoying it immensely. There's a great thrill for me. I've always enjoyed reading, and would always take loads and loads of books on the road with me. And to be able to actually put pen to paper and enjoy using the written word, it's another string to my bow, and I'm thoroughly relishing it.
Yeah. Well, I am here to bear witness that the traditional image of the raddled old rocker who looks completely dissipated, it couldn't be further from the truth with you, because you actually look the picture of health.
Oh, thank you very much indeed.
And you've not given up on a bit of singing either, have you? You've been in the studio.
Yeah, I've been doing a few things. A remixed and remastered version of a song I wrote some time ago called Black Ice, which has been re-released, and I'm also going to be doing some other recordings, more shall we say Dylan-esque type things. Just with myself and acoustic guitars, and showing the romantic side that really didn't see the light of day so much. Well, some of the albums perhaps, but no, I'm probably going out and doing a couple of solo gigs as well before too long.
Well, we'll watch with interest. Just before I play a little bit of that revisited Black Ice, which I have here, Alison from Stony Middleton has rung us. He's looking worried already. To say, does Dave remember performing in 1972 in a concert in Sheffield at the City Hall with Susie Quattro and Cozy Powell? She says it's the best concert she's ever been to.
In 1972?
Yeah, so you must have been there.
The band apparently didn't form until 73, so...
there we are, you see. Alison, he's got an alibi. It's been a pleasure to meet you. Thank you,
Great,
Dave.
cheers, thank you.
Yeah, here's Black Ice from Dave Bartram.